Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down a realistic math-backed framework that can completely change your financial trajectory in just 5 years. We're tossing out those overnight success myths, and instead, we're looking at the actual data and the exact steps you need to build some serious, lasting momentum. All right, let's just set the scene here. Picture this. It's a random Sunday afternoon, you're just hanging out, scrolling through social media, and inevitably, you see one of those posts. How I became a millionaire in 18 months, or turn $1,000 into $1 million with this one simple trick. And for a split second, you probably think to yourself, wait, am I missing something? Because you work hard, you make a decent income. But when you check your bank account, it definitely doesn't scream future millionaire. Honestly, you just feel totally stuck. And honestly, you're probably caught right in the middle of these two super frustrating extremes of online financial advice. On one side, you have this toxic get-rich-quick hustle culture. You know, the crypto secrets, day trading systems, and drop shipping hacks promising you'll be wealthy in 6 months. But then on the flip side, you have this painfully slow, wait 40 years traditionalism. That's the advice telling you to pinch every single penny so that maybe, just maybe, you'll be somewhat comfortable when you turn 65. Well, neither of those options is very satisfying, is it? It leaves us all asking one huge question. Is it actually possible to build real wealth, or is absolutely everyone online just completely full of it? The truth that most people miss is that building actual wealth doesn't take 40 years, but it definitely doesn't happen in 6 months either. But 5 years? 5 years is the sweet spot. It is literally enough time to completely transform your financial life, but only if you focus on the right mechanics. To figure out how to do that, we first have to uncover a slightly uncomfortable truth. We call it the wealth building trap, or, as I like to think of it, the teaspoon problem. It all starts with realizing that saving money alone just isn't going to get you there. Now, don't get me wrong, saving is super important. I mean, the Federal Reserve points out that nearly 40% of Americans can't even cover a $400 emergency without having to borrow money. So hey, if you are saving anything at all right now, you're already way ahead of the curve. So let's say you're doing better than most and you're saving $300 a month. Let's do the math on that. That's $3,600 a year. Over 5 years, you've stashed away 18 grand. Even if you invest that money and earn a really solid 8% annual return, you're looking at maybe $21,000 or $22,000, which is awesome. It's solid, but it's not exactly life-changing wealth, right? Trying to build early wealth just by cutting expenses and saving is literally like trying to fill up a massive swimming pool using a tiny little teaspoon. You are working incredibly hard, but your tool is just way too small for the job. And that brings us to step 1 of our framework, increase your income, which is the absolute engine of wealth. Think about it like this. Your income, it's basically a car's engine. You can have all the sleek aerodynamic upgrades and clever steering you want, but if that engine is tiny, you aren't going anywhere fast. You need horsepower. Let's look at 2 different people. Person A makes $3,000 a month, saves 10%, which is $300. Person B decides to really hustle, improves their skills, negotiates, and bumps their income to $5,000 a month. Keeping that exact same 10% savings rate means they're now saving $500 a month. By simply increasing their baseline income, Person B easily generates an extra $12,000 in savings over 5 years compared to Person A. And they didn't even have to pinch a single extra penny. When you increase your income, absolutely everything else, saving, investing, paying off debt, just becomes exponentially easier. Now, I know you're probably thinking, okay, if it were that easy, everyone would do it. And yeah, for sure, it's tough. It doesn't just magically happen overnight. But 5 years, that is a long time. It's plenty of time to learn a valuable new skill, build up a side hustle, or switch jobs entirely. Actually, data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that workers who switch jobs often bump up their salaries by 10 to 20% on average. Do that a couple of times over a 5-year stretch, and your engine is totally supercharged. But here is the major catch. That extra horsepower is completely useless if you just weigh the car down. This brings us to step 2, stop lifestyle inflation, also known as the brain trap. You know exactly what I'm talking about here. It's when you get that hard-earned raise and immediately upgrade your apartment, buy a whole new wardrobe, or lease a much nicer car. Your income goes up, but your bank account completely flatlines. And the crazy part? It isn't even just a lack of discipline. It's literally hardwired into our biology. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. It's basically our brain's tendency to just get used to nicer things super fast. It perfectly explains why that shiny new car feels absolutely incredible for about 3 months, and then it just becomes your normal car. The thrill totally fades, you start looking for the next big upgrade, and your wealth building is completely paralyzed. So how do we actually beat this? To combat this massive wealth killer, you have to actively lock in your savings using a really brilliant framework called the 50% rule. It is beautifully simple. Every single time your income goes up, you automatically take at least half of that raise and invest it. Boom. Done. If you get a $1,000 a month raise, $500 automatically goes to your investments. You keep the other $500 to genuinely enjoy yourself and upgrade your life. It's not about total deprivation, it's about structured progress so that lifestyle inflation doesn't steal all your momentum. All right, once you've plugged those leaks and your savings are protected, it is time for step 3, invest consistently, which is the multiplier. This is the part where your money actually rolls up its sleeves and gets a job. And historically, one of the most reliable tools for long-term wealth has been broad market investing. Take the S&P 500, for example. It's averaged roughly a 10% annual return over the last century. Yes, markets go up and down in the short term, but over long periods, it is highly effective. Let's run a quick 5-year scenario. After boosting your income and controlling your spending, let's say you can now invest $1,000 a month. Over 5 years, that's $60,000 of your own cash. But with just moderate average market growth, that transforms into $70,000 or even more. And this brings us to the absolute core of this whole concept, the 5-year momentum, the real magic. Let's put this into a real-world timeline. Let's start at point 1, say in your early 20s. You're constantly stressed about money, your savings are a joke, and your income barely covers your rent. But then, entering point 2, for 4 straight years you just lock in. No flashy, risky trades, just the pure discipline of increasing your income, dodging that lifestyle inflation, and consistently investing. By point 3, the 5-year mark, you're sitting on over 80 grand invested, and your daily income has actually doubled. Because of that higher baseline and the magic of compound interest, your next 5 years are going to accelerate at a speed that feels like pure magic compared to where you started. So if you want a realistic, screenshot-worthy playbook from the explainer today, this is it. 1. Increase your income, because it is your absolute most powerful early asset. 2. Protect yourself from lifestyle creep by saving half of every single raise. 3. Invest consistently in broad, long-term assets. And 4. Stick with it for the full 5 years. Because the honest truth is, wealth doesn't happen from one crazy lucky decision. It comes from hundreds of small, kind of unsexy decisions repeated consistently over half a decade. Look, 5 years from now is going to arrive whether you prepare for it or not. The time is going to pass anyway. So the only question you really need to ask yourself right now is this: will you still feel stuck, or will you have built the momentum that makes the next decade completely different? Where do you want your finances to be 5 years from today?